Hello and welcome to another edition of Shed Talk, my weekly magazine video series looking at the keeping, breeding and showing of caged birds, with a particular focus on exhibition style budgerigars, which are actually being extremely noisy at the moment. I do hope you can hear me over the sound of all of the cock birds chattering away and shouting away, trying to compete with me, as always. So April already. And we've actually got quite a busy, I say this almost every month, don't I? We've actually got quite a busy month in April, both inside the shed and outside of the shed. And when I talk about inside the shed, first of all, well, we've got a couple of new pairs of budgerigars to go down. We will have a look at those in this episode. I've been watching them in the flight and trying to work out, there's a couple of young hens that have come into condition and are gnawing away in the flight, looking at a couple of cocks at the same time, or being chased around by a couple of cock birds at the same time. And I've been watching them over the last week and looking at which of the cock birds that I want them to go with would be best suited. And like I say, we'll talk about that in this episode. The other big thing for April is we're going to finally get to put the fives together and hopefully get those breeding. In fact, by the time this episode goes out, I will have removed the partition that's currently separating the cock from the hen, and I will have put the nest pan into the five breeding cage. So, touch wood, it will be all go for the fives in April. Well, while we're on the subject of the fives, I thought I'd just say a big thank you to all those of you who have commented on the YouTube channel, saying how much you're looking forward to seeing how the fives are going. I know this is mainly a budgerigar channel, but you know, birds are birds, aren't they? And we all enjoy looking at how the various types of birds go, and it's a new challenge for me, like I say. So thank you for that, for those of you that have commented. The other thing, of course, is I would like to say thank you to all those of you who have commented and messaged me about the fives and given me some guidance and advice. I do look at all of that guidance and advice and take it all very seriously, and we'll look at how I progress with those using the various guidance. So big thank you to all those of you who have done that. So that's really what's going on both in the budgerigar shed for April, and also out there in the finch and fife shed for April. Outside of the shed, the big thing I suppose is we've got the budgerigar Oxford 1910 barhead and young bird competition coming up in about a week's time. I've got a few birds that I want to enter for that, so both in terms of, there's a couple of young birds in there that I think would be quite nice to get out, and then there are a couple of barheads in the nappy flight that I also want to get out, and perhaps we'll have a look at those in the next episode, so we can see, put those in the show cage and have a look at the ones that I'm planning to get ready for the barhead and young bird competition. Also, remember the last episode, I was ready to go out to Swindon BS for the Holland stud talk that was happening there. Once again, birds are being very, very noisy. And I said I'd try and get some video. I did get some video of that. Two really interesting talks that they gave. One around mic control, and then another one around their shed. Both of those are fairly long, so I will definitely have to split it into two bits. If I can, we'll get one of those out in this in April, and the other one may have to wait until May. I also spoke to one of the Holland Stud members there at that meeting, and I'm hoping that we can get out and visit his shed and have a look around that shed very shortly, perhaps May or June time. So that's what's going on in April outside of the shed. While I'm on the subject of shed talk with, I hopefully will be able to get out and do a shed talk with this month. So that's what's going on both inside the shed and outside of the shed for April. As always, if you do enjoy the videos, don't forget to hit the like button, and of course do comment. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, do subscribe to the channel. All of the subscriptions do help. They help the channel to grow, and they help promote the hobby more widely. So what we'll do now then is we'll have a quick look at the new pairs that I'm going to be putting down in April. So without any further ado, we'll crack on and have a look at the two new pairs. We've got a cinnamon grey-green cockbird crossed to a what I think is a violet cinnamon sky blue, and then I've also got a normal light green cockbird crossed to an opaline cinnamon hen, light green hen. So those are the two pairs we're going to look at, and we'll start off with the cinnamon grey-green. So this is the first of the new pair. So they're both 2022 rung birds. The cockbird is a bird that we've had in the breeding cage once before, but we didn't get anything off him. I think mainly down to the hen rather than down to him. He might have been a little bit young, but not overly. So he's part of the grey family and is the son of the bird that we put in to, or that's currently in cage number 8. So I quite like the grey-green, the style of it, although could probably do with a slightly straighter back. It's got a nice size on him, and he does have a reasonable amount of blow. The hen, as you can see, she's slightly smaller than him. When she does sit on the perch, she has a much straighter back than him. At the moment she's still a bit stressed because she's inside, just been put into the or caught up and put into the show cage. One thing that I'm hoping this hen will add to, apart from having a slightly straighter back, the other thing I'm hoping she will add to this cockbird is, you can't really see it in this at the moment. If you turn side on you'll see it, but so her, there you go, you might be able to see it now. So the across the top of the set, so the blow across there is actually coming round the side and covering the eyes a little bit, so I'm hoping that we'll be able to capture that in the offspring, along with the better blow, upward blow and forward blow of the cockbird. She's also got quite a nice wide mask, and that will complement the cock as well. Now, we had this hen in the breeding cage earlier as well, and she didn't produce anything, she didn't go down at all, and I think she was a little bit too young, and now she's in condition and has been showing some interest in some of the cockbirds in the flight. She has shown a little bit of interest in this grey-green, sorry, but not massively. But I'm hoping that once they get in the breeding cage together, he's been showing lots of interest in a number of hens. So I'm hoping that once we get them in the breeding cage together and they settle in, that we will get something off them. So this is the first of the new pairs that are going to go down, and they're going to go into cage number 3 that's currently empty. So this is the second pair that I'm putting down. You can probably see the cock is on the left hand side as you're looking at it. A normal light green. Did have a little bit of feather plucking as a youngster, hence the slight damage to the wings. But I particularly like the way the directional feathering on the top of this bird's head. You see it when he blows, it does come down a little bit, not as much as I would like, but I'm hoping that if I can get some of him and I can gradually work on this feature a little bit more. You can probably see it when he looks straight on at the camera. Not the thickest though of blow, so it's got that sort of thin dampness about it, although it's directional and it's almost see-through at the top, you can probably see. The hen is off of the Rick Watts outcross cockbird. We did try her very early on in the season, but I think she was too young. But now she's well in condition and being chased around by lots and lots of cockbirds in the flight. The cockbird here is one of those that had been chasing her, although she hadn't had a particular amount of interest in him. She preferred another light green, but I'm hoping that now, once they go in the breeding cage, they'll settle in okay. And the Watts cockbird that this is off of has got much thicker blow, and it travels much further forward and back. So I'm sort of hoping that, see if I can get him back up, I'm sort of hoping that she'll pass that into him, so it will thicken up the top of his blow, but without losing that outward direction of the feather. I hope that all makes sense, but that's my plan for these two. He's quite a biggish bird. So it's just a real shame, this particular bird, that it was feather plucked, because I think otherwise I would get it out onto the show bench, but he's never going to be a show bird because of that. But I do quite like him. He's got reasonable sized spots. Her being an opaline's got lots of spots as well, but I doubt whether that'll add too much to him. Might add a little bit. Of course, everything we get off of this pair is going to be normal, but the cocks will all be split for opaline cinnamon, so not too bad. And in terms of family grouping, these particular two aren't linked to any of the families we've seen so far, so if we were going to call it anything, I think we'd call it the green family, because they're all off of if I go back through their pedigree, they mainly go back to a light green cinnamon cockbird that was crossed to both a dark green hen, but also a light green hen. So maybe we call this one the green family, shall we? Let me know your thoughts on this particular pairing, if you have any. So we've had a look at the new pair, so I'll just very quickly run through the pairs that I have split and my reason behind that. The first pair is the pair that was in cage 1, and that was a cinnamon sky blue cockbird that we paired to a opaline opaline dominant pied sky blue, again a cinnamon. You'll remember that pair had 2 rounds, and the first round we had one chick that wasn't particularly very good. Second round we had 3 chicks, of which I think one we may have a look at when we look at the bar heads. One of them looks reasonable, so out of the 4, 1 in 4 I suppose isn't too bad in terms of the ones that look reasonable. So why have I split them, seeing as they had 1 and then had 3, and we might have had extra off the final round? Well, actually, or off the 3rd round. Well, actually, it became quite clear that the hen had gone out of condition. She was no longer interested in the nest box. Although she was going in and out, it was not really of that much interest. There was no sign of the cockbird paying that much interest in her either, in terms of feeding or treading. And we looked at her share, and it had gone to that sort of light blue white colouring. So she was obviously had gone out of breeding condition. So I took the cockbird out. Cockbird is now back in the flight, and should be fine in there. The hen, I left the hen in the breeding cage for 1 day with the nest box closed, and now what I've done is I've moved her to a stock cage. It will give her a bit more exercise, bearing in mind she's just been stuck in a nest box for the best part of 2 or 3 months. So stock cage, got a bit more flight room before she goes back into the flight. I'll give her probably 2 weeks in there, and then we'll move her back into the main flight. and maybe if she comes back into condition, in a couple of months' time or in a month's time, we might just get one more round off her, but it's very doubtful, I think, at the moment. So that then was the first pair that we split, and that was the pair in cage 1. The other 2 pairs that we split were in cage 4 and cage 5, and this was the 2 pairs which had slightly older hens, you may remember. So one of the hens was I think she was a cinnamon grey, and the other one was a dominant pied, and whilst there was lots of treading going on, there was no sign of either of the hens laying. So they've had 3 weeks, nearly 4 weeks, actually, I think, in the breeding cage. I've decided not to persevere with them. Taken the cockbirds out. Cockbirds are now back in the main flight, and the hens are going to be given one day, as with the others, in the breeding cage with the nest box closed. And what we'll then do is we'll then move these 2 hens in with the other hens in the stock cage, so that they can build up a bit more strength, having spent, I know it's only a month unlike the other ones, but they can build up a little bit more strength before they go back into the main flight. So those are the pairs that we split. It does mean that very soon we're going to have another 2 breeding cages that will be empty, and I think by the end of April we'll also have a 3rd breeding cage, which is cage 6, which was the McCabe outcross hen, you may remember. It's likely that I'm going to split those before the end of the month once they've weaned their last chick. So we'll have a bit of room, and we can keep an eye on the flight and see who's coming into condition, see which hens are in particular look like they're ready to go, and which cockbirds I might want to put with them. So, but if there's nothing, then there's nothing, and we'll just leave the breeding cages empty. So there we go, that's the ones that I've split. What we'll try and do now is get some of the youngsters out of the nappy flight, and we'll talk a little bit about the difference between a bar head and a young bird. So as I say, then what we'll do now is we'll just grab the net, and we'll catch a couple of the birds out of the young bird flight, and we'll take a look at the difference between a bar head and a young bird. So for those of you that aren't sure about that, it's easier to show it on I suppose a normal cinnamon rather than the opalines and some of the other ones where the barring isn't present in the bird. So I'll get 2 birds that are normal, so they've got the bar in, or would have had the bar in across the top of the head, and you can see, and we'll have a look at the difference. So here's a couple of birds then that I'm hoping you'll be able to see the difference between a bar head and a young bird. And the bar head is the bird that's on the left, so the dark green, normal dark green here that you can see, and it's called a bar head for obvious reasons, that the barring that would normally run up the back of the bird, and you can see it on this cinnamon light green here, okay, so the bit of sort of that runs up from the neck up towards the head, on a bar head bird and on a young bird, so before it's first molt, those barrings will continue right up and across the top of the head. So you can just about see that, I think, on this young bird here, or this bar head here that we've got out, the dark green. I'll see if I can get her to turn her head a little bit, or him to turn his head a little bit. Unfortunately, he doesn't want to look anywhere but forward, so maybe I'll see if I can just get him to turn around. It's a bit very noisy in the cage, so I'm hoping you can get to see that. If not, we'll have a look. We'll try and get a better picture of one in the flight. So the barring comes right up across the top of the head. This is the dark green. When I mean, it's pulling at the moment, this young dark green. When he relaxes, does look like a really nice, or looks like it has a possibility to be quite a nice bird for me. So that's the dark green, that's a bar head. That one will almost certainly be going out to the Oxford 1910. And this here, as you can see, So the barring on this one stops at the start of the capping. So at I suppose really at the beginning of where the capping starts. So there's no barring going on across the top of the head. So this is a slightly older bird, and that would be a young bird. Now some shows they talk about them just being for bar heads. For the Oxford 1910 show, it's a bar head and young bird show. Main reason for that is you'll just get more interest, because a lot of people will perhaps not have bar heads but will have young birds. Some people will have young birds. Some people will have bar heads but perhaps have not yet got any young birds, any that would go in the young birds class. So that's the difference between the two as they're getting older. This cinnamon light green will probably go out as well to the bar or to the young bird competition for forming the young bird. And I've also got, and we may, if we get a chance, I'll have a look at him, but we've also got an opaline sky blue cinnamon that is off of the Bob McCabe outcross that I will also try to get out. So there you go, these are the two birds, at least two of the birds that are going out. They'll need to find one more bar head, and like I say, I know which is the other young bird that's going to go out. So I hope you got that. That's the difference between a bar head and a young bird. And there are two of them. Young bird on the right, bar head on the left. Well, I put those two chicks back into the nappy flight, and I hope that helped with those people just starting out to understand the difference between a bar head and a young bird. So you can see where the barring starts and finishes on the two particular types of birds, or the two particular birds. We will get a look at the other bar heads that I'm taking to the Oxford 1910 show in a future episode, probably in the next episode, and we will also get a chance in the next episode to have a look at the fifes. What I did do though, earlier on in the week, I captured a short video of showing that the fifes are ready to go. It shows the hen carrying nesting material, and also the cockbird feeding the hen through the bars. As I say, by the time this video goes out, I will have put the nest pan in the breeding cage, and I will have let the cockbird and the hen in together. So what I will do also is over that next week, once I've done that, is if I get a chance to capture some video of the two birds in there, the two fifes in there, I will post that up on the Facebook page. So do go over and join the Shed Talk Facebook page. I'll also get some pictures of the new pairs if I can, also up onto the Facebook page. But that is just about all we've got time for in this episode. Like I always say, if you enjoy the videos, don't forget to hit the like button, and do of course subscribe. But most importantly, of course, do stay safe and enjoy your birds. Thank you.